I'm so sick of eating the same dishes every day. You can serve this slop to your own daughter at home. Don't bring it here and embarrass yourself. I'll make another dish. Humph, don't bother, I'm full. My mom had only made a few simple home-cooked dishes, yet my sister-in-law tore into her, refused to let her eat at the table, and left her with plain noodles and water. My dad and brother just stood there in silence, clearly taking my sister-in-law's side. At first, I thought there might be some misunderstanding. Then I checked the bank statements and discovered my sister-in-law had secretly linked Mom's bank card to her own phone. For 2 whole years, she'd drained every cent of the living money I sent Mom. That day, I was at my desk reviewing reports when Mom suddenly sent me a voice message. Xiao, stop sending money. No matter how much you transfer, I don't get a single cent. My heart tightened, and I quickly asked her what she meant. Mom, what are you talking about? Her voice thick with hurt. Mom repeated herself. These days, I've been eating plain boiled noodles for every meal. I can't even bring myself to buy an egg. Xiao, don't blame me for always asking you for money. I truly have nowhere else to turn. My head buzzed and I froze. For 2 years, I'd transferred 8,000 yuan to her on the 25th of every month. 24 payments, all clearly recorded. How could she say she'd never seen a cent? Before I could ask more, the family group chat exploded. My sister-in-law Liu Ruyan fired off the first message. Big sis, putting on your devoted daughter act again? You know what a dump Mom lives in. Then she added another sarcastic jab. Did you really send Mom money? Don't turn around and blame her later, claiming she spent it all herself. The chat went dead silent. No one dared reply. I slammed my phone face down, then flipped it back over and took 24 long screenshots of every transfer from the past 2 years. Each one was crystal clear. Recipient Li Xuying, card ending in 6616, 8,000 yuan every month, all labeled living expenses. I posted the screenshots in the group and typed coldly, "Here are the transfer records. Look for yourself." Liu Ruyan replied almost instantly, "It's just a screenshot. Anyone can Photoshop these days. Show the full recipient card number if you dare." I didn't waste time arguing. I zoomed in on the line showing the card ending in 6616 and sent it again. "Does this card ending in 6616 belong to Mom or not?" Mom replied almost immediately, "Yes, that's my card." But I really didn't receive a single cent. I stared at the words, "didn't receive it," feeling as if someone had punched me in the chest. The card was hers, and the recipient name was hers. So how had the money never reached her? I suddenly remembered my last visit home. Mom was still using an old kettle with peeling paint and a badly leaking spout. I told her to replace it, but she said it was good enough. Now I realized it wasn't thrift. She simply couldn't afford a new one. I took a deep breath and posted one final message. "I'm coming home tomorrow. I'm taking Mom to the bank and we're getting to the bottom of this. Suit yourself. Just don't tear this family apart and leave everyone cleaning up your mess." I shut down my computer, grabbed my coat, and left. Card 6616 was definitely Mom's everyday card, yet she lived in a rundown apartment and couldn't even afford an egg. Where had all that money gone? When I reached my hometown the next day, a light rain was falling. Mom's old building had no elevator, and the stairwell reeked of damp mildew. The moment the door opened, cooking grease and mold hit me at once, making my nose sting. Mom wore an old sweater with thick lint balls around the cuffs. When she saw me, she forced a smile, but her eyes turned red before it fully formed. Xiao, I didn't want to tell you any of this, but living like this..." My throat tightened. After a moment, I managed to ask, "Where's Dad?" Before I finished, my father, Zhang Guodong, slowly came out of the back room, avoiding my eyes. I confronted him immediately. "I send you 8,000 yuan every month. How did your life end up like this?" Mom pulled an ATM receipt from her wallet. The balance was 37.62 yuan. I stared at the cold number, my fingertips going numb. "This is the card receiving my transfers, right?" "Yes, this is the card you send money to, but when I went to withdraw it, this was all that remained." I took the card. It did end in 66-116. When I looked at Dad, he deliberately avoided my gaze, his throat moving nervously. My heart sank. He wasn't unaware. He'd kept quiet because he was afraid I'd learn the truth. Early the next morning, I took Mom to the bank. The teller quickly printed a stack of statements showing an 8,000 yuan deposit every month. But almost within the very same minute, 7,998 yuan was transferred out to an account number I didn't recognize. Mom's face went white. "I never made those transfers. I can't even use mobile banking. How could I have sent the money?" "Ma'am, look here. It says the transfers were made through mobile banking." I stared at the deposits and withdrawals, my chest tightening, then asked the teller, "Could you tell me which phone number receives the text alerts for this card?" The teller typed for a moment and said the number began with 185 and ended in 9274. Mom froze. She quickly pulled out her old phone. It was a basic keypad model that couldn't possibly run a banking app. She slapped her ID on the counter. "Check it. Find out who changed my information behind my back." The teller immediately printed the form used to change the alert number. The change had been made last April, and the agent's signature box contained Mom's name. But the handwriting was sharp and angular. I studied it carefully, and my heart sank. It was unmistakably Liu Ruyan's. It had started with a simple video call to Mom. I discovered she was eating noodles and pickles every day back home. When she saw me, she hurriedly moved the bowl aside and forced a smile. "Xiao, I'm doing fine. I have plenty to eat and drink. Don't work yourself too hard out there." But that bowl of watery noodles felt like a thorn in my eye. With 8,000 yuan a month, even the most frugal person wouldn't live on noodles and pickles every meal. My heart dropped and I asked her directly, "Mom, why are you eating that? Isn't the money I send every month enough?" Mom avoided my eyes and stammered that she simply wanted something light. I was suspicious, but I let it go, assuming she'd become so used to saving that she hated spending money. That day, I was at my desk reviewing reports when Mom suddenly sent me a voice message. "Xiao, stop sending money. No matter how much you transfer, I don't get a single cent." My heart tightened and I quickly asked her what she meant. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Her voice thick with hurt, Mom repeated herself. "These days, I've been eating plain boiled noodles for every meal. I can't even bring myself to buy an egg. Xiao, don't blame me for always asking you for money. I truly have nowhere else to turn." My head buzzed and I froze. For 2 years, I'd transferred 8,000 yuan to her on the 25th of every month. Every payment was clearly recorded. How could she say she'd never seen a cent? Only after I took Mom to the bank did we discover that my sister-in-law had secretly linked Mom's card to her own phone and drained every living expense payment I sent. Mom sat rigid in the chair, trembling like a thin sheet of paper in an autumn wind. She whispered, "Xiao, why would Ruyan do this?" I didn't answer because I wanted to know the same thing. What gave her the right? I sighed and took Mom to the hospital. A neurologist ran a full cognitive screening and confirmed that Mom had no impairment at all. Her mind was perfectly clear. She hadn't remembered things wrong. Someone had openly stolen her retirement money. Back outside the ward, Dad stood by the window smoking in silence. I spread the bank change form and the secondary SIM ownership record across the hospital bed. "Dad, you knew about this all along, didn't you?" His fingers stiffened. The cigarette burned his fingertip and he sucked in a sharp breath. "Can we keep a family matter from becoming a huge scandal? Mom hasn't received a cent in 2 years and you're telling me not to make a scene?" Dad finally looked up. "Your brother is struggling too, and Ruyan." She wasn't trying to do anything evil. My head nearly exploded. She wasn't trying to do anything evil? She linked Mom's bank alerts to her own secondary SIM. What exactly would you call that? Go ask your brother. Don't argue in the hospital. That was when I understood. Liu Ruyan would never have dared do this alone. Dad's silence and indulgence had been her strongest protection. That evening, I went to my brother's home. Zhang Hao lived in a brand new complex. A huge new TV and massage chair filled the living room, and Liu Ruyan lounged in the chair scrolling through short videos. The moment she saw me, she plastered on a smile. "Big sis, you're back. So what did the bank find?" There wasn't a trace of guilt in her smile, only naked curiosity. I slapped the change form onto the coffee table. "Explain this. Why were the text alerts for Mom's bank card linked to your secondary SIM?" Her smile froze for a second, then quickly returned. "Oh, that? Mom's old phone never receives messages properly. I was worried she'd get scammed, so I linked the alerts to mine. I was only looking out for her." "Looking out for her? After 2 years, her balance is 37.62 yuan. My brother Zhang Hao came out of the kitchen, his expression changing instantly. "Sis, don't put it like that. Mom can't use a smartphone, and leaving money sitting in a bank card isn't safe. We invested it for her." "Invested it?" I stared them down. "Then show me the documents." Liu Ruyan clutched her phone to her chest, her tone turning hard. "That's private. You're only the older sister. Don't you think you're overstepping? Do you think sending Mom 8,000 yuan a month makes you the head of this family? I'm not trying to run this family. I just want to know where my mother's money went." "Your mother's money? Didn't your father always manage it before?" "That's how our family has always done things." I looked at my brother and barely recognized him. I stopped arguing and walked toward the door. "Tomorrow, bring proof of this so-called investment, and we'll reconcile every transaction face to face. If you can't, never use filial duty to pressure me again. Investigate all you want. Don't forget your brother is Mom's biological son too." I slammed the door. All I could see were the statements. 8,000 yuan arrived every month, then vanished immediately. Where had it all gone? Back home, I pulled out the stack of statements and studied the unfamiliar destination account. Every transfer ultimately flowed into the same business account, Tianyu Trading. The name sounded familiar. The year before, Liu Ruyan had posted online, "My brother's company finally has working capital. No more begging anyone for favors." The photo showed the steering wheel of a new car. I circled the company name hard, my palm turning cold. The money hadn't been spent. It had been diverted to finance another family's comfortable life. The next day, I called everyone to Mom's home to reconcile the accounts. Mom scrubbed the table spotless. Dad sat on the couch, avoiding our eyes. And the moment my brother and Liu Ruyan entered, she attacked first. "Big sis, with all this drama, have you even thought about whether Mom's health can take it?" I ignored her and spread the statements across the table. "This money went to Tianyu Trading. Whose company is it?" "It's Ruyan's brother's company. Businesses need short-term cash sometimes. That's normal." I turned to Liu Ruyan. "Normal cash flow requires linking Mom's bank alerts to your secondary SIM. It requires transferring the money out within 1 minute of every deposit. Open your mobile banking and show me." "Absolutely not. You want to inspect my phone? That's an invasion of my privacy." I placed my phone on the table and started screen recording. "Fine. Then answer a few questions." Looking uneasy, Liu Ruyan said, "Go ahead. What password does Mom usually use to log into her bank account?" She can't remember passwords, so she always uses the last 6 digits of her ID number. The second the words left her mouth, Liu Ruyan realized her mistake. Her lips went rigid, and the room fell silent. Mom stared at her. The last 6 digits of my ID? How do you know that? Liu Ruyan hurried to recover. Mom, you told me yourself before. Watching her panic while pretending to stay calm gave me my answer. She hadn't been helping Mom invest. She already controlled Mom's password, text message channel, and mobile banking login device. I gathered the statements and said calmly, "We're done arguing today. Tomorrow I'm running a small test and every one of you will be here." What test? I'll transfer 1 yuan into Mom's card and see whose phone gets the bank alert. If Mom's phone rings, I'll apologize and leave immediately. Liu Ruyan's face finally changed completely, as though an invisible hand had closed around her throat. You're insane! I looked straight at her. What exactly are you afraid of? On the 3rd day, I fully charged my phone, started recording early, and quietly placed it in the corner with the camera pointed directly at Liu Ruyan. Mom sat beside me, holding her old phone, nervously rubbing the seam of her pants. Dad gripped his blood pressure medicine on the couch. My brother spoke first. Sis, haven't you caused enough trouble? Without even looking up, I opened the banking app and transferred 1 yuan to Mom's card. The screen showed, transfer successful. The room went so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Mom's old phone stayed silent. Then a crisp ding came from Liu Ruyan's bag. The sound pierced Mom like a needle. Liu Ruyan went pale and instinctively reached into her bag, trying to delete the message. Don't touch it, let go of me. In broad daylight, are you trying to rob me? Liu Ruyan's eyes turned vicious as she tried to wrench free. I pointed my recording phone at her and said coldly, I'm not stealing anything. I only want to see whether that text is the alert for the 1 yuan I just sent Mom. Liu Ruyan suddenly lunged for my phone like she'd lost her mind. You're secretly filming me! You're violating my privacy! My brother immediately grabbed my arm to stop me from moving. Mom screamed in fright and rushed between us. Stop! Stop fighting! We're family! In the chaos, Liu Ruyan yanked out her phone, quickly entered the password, opened the messages, found the bank alert, and deleted it. But my recording captured everything. Taking out the phone, typing the password, and deleting the message. Every detail was clearly visible. A chill rose inside me as I watched, but my voice grew steadier. Why delete it? If it was an ordinary message, why were you afraid to let us see it? You secretly recorded me. Why would I leave the message there for you to use as evidence?
Zhang Xiaoxiao, you've gone too far!
I paused the recording on the frame where she entered the password. What password did you type? How do you know my mother's bank password? Mom's bank alerts go to your secondary SIM and you know her bank password. Now tell me, is that helping her? Is that looking out for her? Mom's face was white as paper. Her lips trembled as she looked at Liu Ruyan. Ruyan! Ruyan! Did you really take my money? I've always treated you well. How could you do this to me? Enough, Ruyan. What exactly have you done? Dad, what did I do? I only borrowed the money for cash flow. I'd have returned it in a couple of months. Mom wasn't using it anyway, so it was just sitting there. I used it for business, and if I made money, you could all benefit. What's wrong with that? It was just sitting there. Those words struck like a hammer and shattered the last light in Mom's eyes. She stumbled backward. That was my retirement money! Money for medical bills in my old age. You say it was just sitting there? For 2 years, I ate noodles and pickles every meal and couldn't even afford an egg. Yet you say my money was just sitting there? Mom sobbed in pure heartbreak. Suddenly, Dad clutched his chest, staggered, and his face turned gray. Guodong, what's wrong? Don't scare me! I touched Dad's forehead. It was ice cold. His hands were cold too, and sweat covered his brow. He stared at me with pleading eyes, as though begging me to stop pursuing the matter. His lips moved for a long moment before he finally forced out, Xiaoxiao. Let it go. The moment he finished, his eyes rolled back and he collapsed unconscious into my arms. Call an ambulance! Get him to the hospital! Liu Ruyan and my brother panicked too, scrambling to gather things. I carried Dad out the door while Mom's frightened cries followed behind me. The emergency room lights were painfully bright. Dad was rushed into resuscitation, while Mom, my brother, Liu Ruyan, and I waited outside in crushing silence. More than half an hour later, the doctor said Dad had suffered acute angina. Thankfully, we'd arrived in time. His life wasn't in danger, but he needed observation and careful follow-up care. Hearing that, we finally breathed a little easier. Mom sat alone on a hallway bench, clutching her worn cloth bag. Inside were her ID, bank card, and the ATM receipt showing a balance of only 37.62 yuan. She kept her head down, shoulders trembling, saying nothing. Her hurt and heartbreak had clearly reached their limit. My brother Zhang Hao crouched in a corner with his face buried in his knees, shoulders shaking as he cried quietly. Maybe he regretted it. Maybe he was scared. Either way, it was too late. Liu Ruyan stood at the other end of the hall like a trapped animal, hands in her pockets, face dark, saying nothing. Perhaps she was still wondering how to talk her way out of it. I walked over, gently touched Mom's shoulder and asked, Mom, what do you want to do about this? Mom looked up. Dark circles ringed her bloodshot eyes, but not a single tear fell. Her voice was soft and hoarse. Your father doesn't want us to call the police. He's afraid this family will fall apart. I understood him. All his life, he'd believed keeping the family together mattered above everything else. No matter how badly he was wronged, he always chose to endure and carry on. Mom lowered her head to the receipt again. She crushed it into a ball, slowly unfolded it, then carefully smoothed it flat as though it were something precious. But if this family stays together, I'm the one who has to stay poor. I struggle. Your father lies sick, while your brother's family lives in a new home, drives a new car, and enjoys life with my retirement money. What kind of family is that? It isn't a family at all. She suddenly raised her head. Call the police. I froze, then said, Mom, think carefully. If we report this, Liu Ruyan may go to prison, and Xiaoji's life will suffer too. When she took my retirement money, did she ever wonder whether I'd starve? Did she ever think about this family? Anger filled Mom's voice. She showed me no mercy, so she can't expect mine. I won't swallow this injustice. I want accountability. Seeing the determination in her eyes, I knew she'd finally made up her mind. She would never endure it again. I nodded, pulled out my phone, and called the police. The moment they answered, I knew this family farce was finally ending, and Liu Ruyan would have to face the consequences of what she'd done. Officer Chen Yu soon arrived at the hospital. He checked on Dad, heard our account, and reviewed the screen recording, bank statements, alert number change form, and other evidence. He asked Mom, Ma'am, can you confirm this card is in your name? Someone changed its text alert number and you never authorized Liu Ruyan to transfer money from it? I confirm it. I never authorized her. I can't even use mobile banking, so how could I authorize transfers? She secretly changed the number and secretly took my money. Chen Yu nodded. Immediately transferring incoming funds, privately changing the text alert number, and hiding the transactions are typical signs of misappropriating another person's property. The amount is nearly 200,000 yuan, so this may constitute a criminal offense. We're opening a case. We'll request the complete money trail immediately, establish the facts as quickly as possible, and make sure you get justice. You did the right thing. An elderly person's retirement money is their lifeline. It cannot simply be taken, and this cannot be delayed any longer. I looked toward Liu Ruyan. Only then did real panic set in. Her face went white, and her legs trembled. She grabbed my brother's sleeve and shrieked, You're just gonna stand there while your sister calls the police? Why didn't you stop her? Your mother has lost her mind, and you're doing nothing. My brother shook her off, eyes red. You're the one who's lost her mind. You did this. You emptied Mom's retirement account. You brought this on yourself. At those words, Mom's tears finally burst free. But there was no weakness in them, only burning anger. She wiped them away, stood up, and told Chen Yu, Investigate however you need to. Don't hold back. I will get justice. Chen Yu nodded and handed her a case acceptance receipt. Ma'am, keep this safe. We'll notify you immediately when there's any progress. Mom accepted it solemnly and tucked it carefully into her cloth bag between her ID and the ATM receipt. Dad still hadn't regained consciousness in the observation room. Mom stopped outside his door. Guodong, don't stop me again. Every time you stop me, I'm forced to suffer poverty once more. This time, I won't endure it. Then she turned and followed Chen Yu to the police station to give her statement. Watching her leave, I felt she'd suddenly aged years, yet somehow stood taller than ever. We had barely left the hospital when Zhang Hao called, his voice trembling with tears. Sis, can you come over now? Liu Ruyan wants to speak to you and Mom face to face. She knows she was wrong and wants to apologize. I looked at Mom. After a moment of silence, she nodded. Let's go. I want to hear what else she has to say. At 9 that night, Mom and I arrived at my brother's home. Zhang Hao and Liu Ruyan were both there. The atmosphere was suffocating, and Liu Ruyan held a black travel bag. The second we entered, she stepped forward, slammed the bag onto the table, and dropped to her knees. Mom, I know I was wrong. I lost my head and took your retirement money. I'll return it, every cent. Please show mercy and withdraw the case, okay? Crying, she unzipped the travel bag. Inside were bundles of crisp new banknotes. My brother's company accounts have all been frozen, and they can't even pay the workers. If this continues, the company will collapse and our whole family will be finished. Mom, I'm begging you to forgive me this once. I'll never do it again. I'll take good care of you and support you for the rest of your life. Mom's eyes settled on the bag of cash. Her fingers twitched, but she still didn't reach for it. She looked at Liu Ruyan with no pity at all, only cold disappointment. When Liu Ruyan saw she wasn't budging, she pulled a stack of papers from her pocket, held them out to Mom, and started crying. Mom, all you have to do is sign. Say the money's been repaid and we'll settle this within the family. If you don't sign, our whole family is finished. I reached over, snatched the papers, and flipped straight to the last page. It was a settlement agreement. It said Liu Ruyan would return all the money involved. But it also said we voluntarily waived any legal claims against her and would withdraw the police report. The signature line at the bottom was blank, like an open trap waiting for Mom to step into it. I slapped the agreement down on the table. Liu Ruyan, paying the money back is the bare minimum. You owe my mother that. But don't even dream of making her sign away her right to hold you accountable. You did wrong, so you face the consequences. That's only fair. Liu Ruyan stopped crying instantly. The grief vanished from her face, and she jumped up, pointed at me, and yelled, Xiaoxiao, are you really going this far? What about your brother's future, your dad's illness, your mom's old age? Don't you still need us? If you burn every bridge today, can you really carry everything alone? I did count on you. I counted on you to be good to me and let me live out my later years in peace. And what happened? I had only 37.62 wen left in my account. I ate plain noodles with pickles every day and couldn't even bring myself to buy an egg. I trusted you, and all I got was betrayal and lies. Mom pushed the pen back toward Liu Ruyan and said every word slowly. I'm not signing this. Whatever you have to say, save it for the law. If you're going to be this heartless, don't blame me for cutting ties with this family. My brother stood off to the side. His lips moved like he wanted to speak, but in the end, he just lowered his head. Maybe he regretted it. Maybe he felt helpless. Either way, it was already too late. We turned and left. The door slammed shut behind us. Once we were outside the complex, Mom pushed the bag of cash toward me. Xiaoxiao, keep this safe. Give it to Officer Chen tomorrow so she can't turn around and accuse us of extorting her. I nodded and took the money. I knew this was nowhere near the end. It was only the start of a long fight. Sure enough, once the case was officially accepted, Liu Ruyan launched a full-on family guilt campaign, trying to pressure us into backing down. First, she contacted my oldest aunt in private and asked her to talk me around. Xiaoxiao, you know the saying, don't air the family's dirty laundry. By calling the police, aren't you ruining your brother's whole life? Ruyan made a mistake, but she knows she was wrong, and she returned the money. Forgive her this once. Leave some room today so you can still face each other tomorrow. Before long, Liu Ruyan transferred me 100,000 wen and sent a screenshot. She said she'd return that much first, repay the rest over time, and wanted me to drop the case. I stared at the number and felt a chill. She had taken nearly 200,000 yuan of Mom's retirement money over 2 years, and now thought 100,000 would buy me off and make me withdraw the case. Not a chance. I sent the money straight back. Repaying the money is your obligation. Misappropriating someone else's property is your offense. Explain both to the law. As for dropping the case, not happening. Her voice instantly turned tearful, and she sent me a long voice message begging. Sis, I'm begging you. Please let this go. Are you really going to destroy your own brother? His job is about to run a background review. If you don't withdraw the case, he'll lose it. How is he supposed to hold his head up after that? I listened to the message and didn't reply. Soon the family group chat exploded too. My third aunt sent a long voice message, scolding me in a harsh tone. Xiao, how can you be so cruel? We're family. We still have to face each other. If Liu Ruyan goes to prison, how is your brother supposed to live? Where does that leave the rest of us? If his own sister won't help him, who will? The other relatives piled on too. Some tried to persuade me, some blamed me, and some said I was overreacting. They kept talking about my brother's future, family bonds, and keeping shame inside the family. Not one asked how Mom had survived the past 2 years, whether she'd suffered or how outrageous Liu Ruyan's actions were. I stared at all those self-righteous messages, my fingers trembling. The chill in my chest grew even colder. These so-called relatives cared about their image and their version of family, but not right or wrong, and not whether an elderly woman lived or suffered. I took a photo of the ATM receipt showing a balance of 37.62 wen and posted it in the family chat. Then I typed, Mom has 37.62 yuan left in her account. That's all that's left of 2 years of retirement money. For 2 years, she ate noodles with pickles and wouldn't even buy herself an egg. Which elder here wants to tell me how I'm supposed to tolerate this or forgive it? The group chat went dead silent. No one said another word. Every relative who had lectured or blamed me vanished, as if they'd never said anything. In that moment, I finally understood that some family affection is only for show and crumbles the second money is involved. Late that night, Officer Chen called me. We've applied to freeze all relevant accounts belonging to Liu Ruyan and her brother's company. Don't have any private money transfers with them for now, or it may affect the evidence. Don't worry. We'll investigate as quickly as possible and help your mother get justice. Okay, I understand. Thank you, Officer Chen. Early the next morning, Liu Ruyan's mobile payments were restricted and her bank cards were frozen. My brother messaged me saying she was raging at home, smashing things, cursing, and blaming me for ruining her. I stood outside the hospital listening to her hysterical screaming in my brother's voice message. I felt no satisfaction, only a heavy weight. I wasn't trying to destroy anyone. I only wanted justice for Mom and for the person who did wrong to face the consequences. On the evening of the second day after the freeze, Liu Ruyan cornered Mom at the entrance to the complex. Mom had just come back from visiting Dad in the hospital and was carrying groceries. The moment Liu Ruyan saw her, the tears started. Mom, I don't blame you for calling the police, but once the accounts were frozen, my brother's company was about to collapse. He can't pay his workers, creditors come every day, and he's talking about ending his life. Mom, please save us. Mom stood on the steps holding the groceries. Her hand visibly shook when she heard those words. She'd always been kind-hearted and couldn't stand seeing anyone desperate. Liu Ruyan seized the opening and shoved a folded paper into her hand. She sobbed. Mom, please have mercy. Just sign and say the money was repaid and you've forgiven us. With this forgiveness letter, the accounts can be unfrozen and my brother's company can survive. If you sign, all of us still have a way out. I arrived just in time. When I saw what was happening, I rushed over, pulled the paper from Mom's hand, and opened it. The title read, Letter of Forgiveness, and it said Mom forgave everything Liu Ruyan had done. It also contained an even more vicious line. I confirm that I suffered no financial loss in this matter, and that my previous police report was solely the result of a family misunderstanding. This wasn't a forgiveness letter. It was an attempt to make Mom admit she'd filed a false report. I tore the letter to pieces, threw them in front of Liu Ruyan, and said coldly, Liu Ruyan, stop wasting your time. Harass my mom again and I won't be polite. If your brother's company goes bankrupt, that's on you. It has nothing to do with us. Liu Ruyan stared at the shredded letter, her face twisted with rage. But she didn't dare touch me. She could only watch us walk away. The money trail came back faster than I expected. 3 days later, Officer Chen handed me a thick printout of the accounts, with every transfer path marked in red. It clearly showed how Liu Ruyan moved Mom's retirement money into her brother's company. Every month, 8,000 yuan entered Mom's card. Then 7,998 yuan was immediately sent to a stranger's personal account and split into 3 transfers to Tianyu Co., owned by Liu Ruyan's brother. All the evidence was right there, solid, undeniable proof. When my brother Zhang Hao saw it, he completely broke down. He grabbed his hair, crouched on the floor, and sobbed hoarsely. I thought she was really investing Mom's money. I thought she was only using it temporarily. I had no idea she'd drained Mom's account completely. I looked at him with both pain and cold disappointment. He was my own brother, and seeing him fall this far hurt. But as a son, he'd never checked how Mom was living or how much she had left. He had simply trusted his wife and enabled everything she did. You thought? Did you ever ask Mom? Did you ever check how much was left in her account? How many times did you come home and see how she was living? You didn't even care about your own mother. What right do you have to say, I thought? He said nothing. He just kept crying, his tears hitting the concrete floor. Liu Ruyan kept denying everything in the interrogation room, but when police showed her 2 years of records and proof that she'd used the money for a new car and a new home, she finally had nothing left to say. She lowered her head and muttered, I had no choice. Back home, Mom sat at the table studying page after page of bank records. She read slowly and carefully, scratching the paper with her nail every time she saw a transfer out. Deep marks covered the pages like wounds carved into her heart. After a long time, she looked up and asked me softly, Xiao, when you sent the money every month, what were you thinking? I wanted you to eat better, dress better, and live comfortably without worrying about money. I wanted you to do well out there too. I didn't want you worrying about me. But for 2 years, I never even got to touch the money you earned. That one sentence made my eyes burn. I turned away so Mom wouldn't see me cry. I'd always thought sending money every month was enough to be a good daughter. I never imagined my care would be exploited and leave her suffering like this. A few days later, police told us there was still money in Liu Ruyan's account that could be returned first. We went with Officer Chen to the bank. The teller transferred it from the frozen account into Mom's new card, and the receipt showed 98,560 yuan deposited. Just then, Mom's phone chimed with a bank alert. She froze, slowly took it out, and read, Account ending 661 states received 98,560 yuan. Balance, 98,597.62 yuan. She stared for a long time, eyes filling with tears, and gently stroked the screen like it was something priceless. Xiao, this time it really reached me. My brother was reading the message too. Suddenly, he crouched down, covered his face, and burst into tears. Mom, I really didn't know. I had no idea you had so little left. I'm sorry, Mom. Mom didn't help him up or scold him. She simply folded the receipt, carefully tucked it into her wallet, and placed it beside the old ATM slip. You didn't know because you didn't want to know. If you want to be a good son, first learn to look. See what your parents truly need and how they're actually living. My brother looked up with tears clinging to his lashes and nodded hard. I understand, Mom. I understand now. When we left the bank that day, the sun was bright and warm. Yet it stung my eyes. Not because it was too strong, but because the truth was finally out in the open. No one could hide or pretend anymore. From that day on, Zhang Hao asked Liu Ruyan for a divorce. He finally understood that she'd never cared about him or the family. She'd used him as a stepping stone and treated Mom like an ATM. He finally saw that every time he stood on Liu Ruyan's side, the person tied down on the other side was his own mother. On the day of the divorce, Liu Ruyan made a scene at the civil affairs office, smashed dishes at home, and screamed that I'd ruined her life. Mom didn't argue back. She quietly placed her new bank card in her wallet, as if taking control of her own life again. The divorce was ugly. Liu Ruyan took everything from the house and left it empty. Zhang Hao moved back home to live with Mom, care for Dad, and slowly learn what being a truly devoted son actually meant. In the end, only 98,560 yuan was recovered. The rest had already been burned through by Liu Ruyan and her brother's company and could never be retrieved. Mom stopped pursuing the rest and didn't complain. She calmly accepted the outcome. She used the recovered money for 2 things: buying Dad's medicine and hiring a caregiver, and opening a new bank card linked to a new phone number. The day the new card was ready, Mom went to an ATM alone for the first time to check the balance. She studied the machine for a long time before slowly entering her PIN. When the balance appeared, a long-lost smile crossed her face. Later, she told me, "Xiaoxiao, I need to learn to check it myself and manage it myself. I can't hand my money over to anyone again, and I won't let myself be treated like that again." I nodded, my chest aching. She used to hate hassle and learning new things, but now, to protect her retirement money, she was willing to learn and try. While the case was moving into settlement and prosecution, Dad suddenly collapsed. One morning, Zhang Hao found half his body paralyzed, his mouth drooping, his speech slurred, and even a cup slipping from his hand. We rushed him to the hospital. It was a stroke. He survived, but was left partially paralyzed and needed long-term rehab. The first thing Dad said after waking up was, "I was wrong." Mom sat beside the bed, gripping the payment slip until the paper frayed. She didn't cry or scold him. She just looked at him. "Your mistake wasn't being afraid the family would fall apart. Your mistake was thinking I could keep enduring forever. You ignored right and wrong and let other people bully me." Tears ran from the corners of Dad's eyes into his hair. "Sis, did Dad end up like this because we called the police? Did the family mess make him sick? If you want to blame someone, blame Liu Ruyan. She took the money and turned this family upside down. That's what pushed Dad over the edge. Don't blame the police report. We reported it to get justice and stop Mom from being hurt again." My brother's lips moved, but he said nothing. He quietly turned and wiped Dad's face. After Dad was hospitalized, the bank's account manager called. Once she heard what had happened, she said they could rebuild Mom's account security and fully protect her retirement card. I took Mom to the bank. The account manager spread a stack of forms in front of us and explained everything patiently. "Ma'am, we recommend disabling mobile banking on the retirement card and keeping inquiry access only. Transfers should require an in-person visit or your personal confirmation. That way, even if someone changes the SMS number, they still can't move the money." The account manager pointed to the forms as she spoke. Mom paused, then nodded. "All right, let's turn off mobile banking." Mom picked up the ink pad and pressed down her red fingerprint. "Then how did someone handle it for me before? I never went to the bank. How was she able to change where my alerts were sent?" "Ma'am, people trust family and want to avoid trouble. That's exactly what bad actors exploit. Some older banking procedures had gaps. Now the rules are stricter, and this kind of thing should not happen again." Mom stayed silent for a moment, then carefully tucked the change form into her cloth bag. "I'm not afraid of the hassle anymore. I used to think I had to give in so the children could save face. I kept telling myself peace at home mattered most, so I just endure it. Now I know dignity is something I protect, not something I surrender. Endless compromise only makes people push further and leaves me suffering." I looked at Mom and felt a sharp ache. I knew the words, "I'm not afraid of the hassle anymore," had cost her 2 years of humiliation, a 37.62 yuan receipt, and nearly all her retirement savings. After leaving the bank, I set up 3 safeguards so her retirement money could never disappear again. First, a new number. We canceled her old SIM, got a new one, and moved every bank alert and payment account to it. Only Mom knew the number. Second, separate cards. One card held only the month's living expenses. The retirement card held her savings and the recovered money, with no quick pay links or mobile banking. Mom kept it and knew the only PIN. I held a backup card that could be used only with her permission. Third, monthly checks. After I transferred money on the 25th, Mom had to check the ATM balance that same day, print a receipt, and send me a photo. If she didn't check, I wouldn't send the next month's money. Mom frowned when she heard all that. "That's a lot of trouble, isn't it?" "Mom, which is more trouble? Doing these checks or having only 37.62 yuan left and eating plain noodles every day?" Mom looked at the receipt and stayed quiet for a moment. "All right, I'll do it your way. I'll check every month and send you a photo of the receipt." For the first monthly check, Mom went to the bank at dawn. She sent me a photo of the ATM receipt clenched tightly in her palm, with the balance clearly printed on it. "Xiaoxiao, I saw it. The money's there. It didn't run away." I stared at those words in the photo until my eyes filled with tears. It wasn't just a number. It was Mom's peace of mind and her hope. By the second month, Mom could review her own transactions. She'd learned to check bank records on a smartphone and print receipts. There was obvious pride in the voice message she sent me. "Xiaoxiao, I checked the records myself. Everything's fine. The money's all there." "This time it didn't disappear," I replied with a smile. "Right, it won't disappear again." Mom laughed on the phone too. It was a soft, easy laugh, like she could finally breathe again. Dad lay in bed listening to her laugh. His eyes softened and a faint smile returned. I knew that smile came from Mom finally learning to stand up for herself, protect her own interests, and keep control of her own wallet. She would no longer surrender money for fake family peace. She would hold on to it so she could live securely and with dignity. Early one morning, Mom went to the market to buy eggs. The vendor recognized her and asked casually, "Xu Ying buying eggs today? You used to avoid even the pricier vegetables." Mom smiled and the lines on her face relaxed. "I'll buy some. There's a patient at home who needs nutrition and I want some too." The eggs came to 8.9 yuan. Mom handed over her spending card. When the payment terminal beeped, she froze and held her breath, afraid it might say, "insufficient funds." A second later, her phone chimed with a bank alert. She read it 3 times, confirmed the balance was right, and finally let out a long breath. She looked up at the vendor. Add 2 more eggs, please. Let's make it a round amount. You got it. Life's better now and it shows. Mom laughed too, bright and happy like a child. Back home, she carefully saved a screenshot of the debit alert in a photo album folder named This Month. Xiao, look, I know exactly where my money went. That's enough for me. The knot in my chest finally loosened. Mom had stepped out of the shadow of the past and could finally live with real peace of mind. As the case continued through the legal process, community staff contacted me. Several seniors nearby had recently lost pension money after others handled their banking or used mobile banking to transfer it away. The community asked me to share Mom's case and teach seniors how to protect their accounts. At first, I didn't want to go. The experience had hurt Mom deeply, and I didn't want to reopen the wound or expose our family's shame in public. But when I told Mom, she placed the 37.62 yuan receipt in my palm and said seriously, Xiao, don't be embarrassed. We're not the ones who should feel ashamed. The people who steal from and bully seniors should. Go tell them so more elderly people know how to protect their retirement money and don't suffer like I did. Her words warmed my heart. I nodded and accepted the community's invitation. On the day of the talk, the room was packed with seniors and some of their children. Everyone listened closely as I drew 5 boxes on the whiteboard and wrote out the scam step by step in red. First, scammers offer to handle things and persuade seniors to activate mobile banking. Then they secretly reroute text alerts to another SIM. The pension arrives and is transferred out immediately. Afterward, they claim it's being invested or used temporarily, making the senior think they forgot or the money never arrived. I posted Mom's bank records, SMS change form, and ATM receipt photos on the board so everyone could see, then said loudly, Everyone, this isn't seniors being confused or forgetful. Someone is deliberately exploiting the fact that older people may not understand smartphones or banking procedures. I explained more safety measures. The moment I mentioned secondary SIM cards, an elderly man in the back slammed the table and stood up. My daughter-in-law said just days ago that she'd link a secondary SIM for me and receive my bank texts because my eyesight is bad. The room erupted. Community staff immediately took him to verify the account settings. Half an hour later, a staff member ran back, pale. We stopped it in time. The alert number had been changed and the money was almost transferred out. A chill shot up my spine. What happened to our family wasn't an isolated case at all. The moment the talk ended, Zhang Hao called. His voice was cold and hard. Sis, do you have to tell everyone about this? Are you afraid people won't know our family had such a scandal? I'm explaining how the scam works. I'm not talking about you. But after hearing it, people will point at me and say I married a terrible woman. Then why couldn't you look once back then and check how much money Mom actually had left? He had no answer and hung up. I stood alone outside the community center while the freezing wind cut across my face. Then Mom texted me, Come home for dinner when you're done. I boiled eggs for you. The word eggs instantly melted the coldness in my heart. She could finally bring herself to eat eggs. It wasn't about how much money she had. It was knowing her money would no longer vanish without explanation. Mom asked to learn mobile banking security on her own. Passwords and verification codes used to overwhelm her, but now she sat straight at the table with a notebook, carefully writing everything down. You're not foolish. Some people are simply very good at pretending. She stared at the paper for a long time, then suddenly looked up at me. Xiao, does your father still blame me for insisting we call the police? I glanced toward the bedroom. Dad slowly turned over in bed. He wasn't asleep. I said softly, He doesn't blame you. He blames himself. I was afraid the family would fall apart. If the family stayed together by wearing me down, then I'd be the one falling apart. And once I broke, neither you nor our son would have a good life. The next day, Zhang Hao came. He paced outside the hospital for a long time before messaging me. Sis, I want to see Dad and say a few words to Mom. I handed Mom the phone. After a long silence, she replied, You may come. But 3 rules first: no arguing, no talking about money, and no bringing anyone to make me sign anything. Reading those rules, the weight in my chest eased. A family doesn't stay together through endless sacrifice. It stays together through clear rules and boundaries. That day, my brother stood stiffly at the hospital room door holding a carton of milk and a bag of apples. Sit. Mom! I'm sorry. Mom didn't say, It's okay. She took the old ATM receipt from her wallet, placed it on the bedside table, looked at Zhang Hao, and spoke slowly. I look at this receipt every day now. If you truly want to be a good son, don't rush to apologize. What matters is making sure I can look at it every day and feel secure. Mom, I understand. As he reached the door, he looked back at me and asked hesitantly, Sis, can I start sending Mom some money every month too? I asked him back. What are you going to write in the transfer note? He froze. Mom answered for him. Right, received by Mom. Zhang Hao nodded hard. Only then did he truly understand those words weren't being dramatic. They were a boundary that had to exist. That night, I returned to my rented apartment and immediately changed the automatic transfer for the next month. I used to write living expenses in the note. This time, I typed each word carefully. Received by Mom. Not long after, Mom sent me a screenshot. Bank notice. Account ending 66 Wixteets received 8,000 Ba Wen. Then she sent another line. This time, my own phone rang. I stared at that simple sentence and felt my eyes sting. Every monthly transfer used to make me anxious, afraid the money would vanish. Now, I could finally breathe. Second, I didn't want to air our family's shame in public, but when I told Mom about it, the moment a senior's pension arrived, it was transferred out, then disguised as temporary investment use. Half an hour later, the staff member ran back pale. "We stopped it! The bank alert number had really been changed." The word eggs instantly melted the coldness in my heart. She could finally bring herself to eat them. The next day, Jung Hao came. He paced outside the hospital for a long time and messaged me, "Sis, I want to see Dad. What matters is making sure I can look at it every day and feel secure."